Hello, everybody. You are listening to Heel Turn, episode 7. I am your host, Jeremy. With me, as always, the man who loves to go mouth to south, Uncle Sam. We have a very special guest on the show with us tonight. His name is Mike Schroen. Go ahead and say hello, Mike.
How's it going, guys?
See? All right, tonight.
Wow, you're not kidding. We have a guest.
I know, right? We never have guests. 7 episodes, and we've never had a guest.
Thank you. 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 Hey. Thank you.
This is what he does. He does this
Thank
every
you.
episode.
Thank you. Thank you.
You gotta sit through this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
He's not thanking anybody.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ah, yes. Just want to real quick say,
Thank you.
I like the old theme song better.
Well, our guest, I think, was recently at a Rush concert. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, dude, it was pretty sweet.
And so I figured, because he would appreciate power trios, he would appreciate the Police.
Hmm.
I could have been completely wrong there.
Well, I mean, we have another bass playing lead singer, and you can't crap on that. Wait, the thing's my bass.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Right after I said that, I was like, man, some dude's gonna jump on here and be like, cool. He plays didgeridoo while he sings. It just ain't possible.
But let's see. Okay, tonight we're gonna, of course, talk about Night of Champions. We'll maybe talk a smidgen about Raw, even though nothing really happened, and I don't even remember anything about Raw. Um, then we'll talk a little bit about TNA from tonight. Actually, today is Thursday, but you might catch the episode Saturday or Sunday. We'll see. Um,
Who gives a fuck?
exactly. Nobody cares about TNA. Yeah, then we'll do the heel turn top 5 of the week. Get to know Mike a little bit more, and maybe just go from there. Just let it be what it is. Okay, so real quick, we'll just talk about it. Uh, my week, kind of weird, I guess. Not too weird. You know what? It makes no sense. Um, I tasted cat piss accidentally the other day. I was home and the cat had apparently had pissed on my blanket, but at the same time I thought I'd spilt some beer on it,
I like where this is going.
and so I wasn't sure whether it was the beer or the piss because it was some pretty strong beer. It had a real stank to it, so I couldn't tell, and so I started like sipping on it, sipping like some of the moisture out of the blanket. And I kept thinking, oh, each sip is like, this does not taste like my beer at all.
You really want to lose our only subscriber, don't you?
Well, I
But
mean,
what beer was it that you're like, this could be beer?
it was Henry Weinhard. I got it was it was a really nice deal. I got at Meyer. It was like 2 12s for $20.
Is it like an IPA or?
Oh yeah, yeah. One of them was an IPA.
The only thing I can imagine being anywhere close to cat piss is an IPA.
That was what it was. Really, it was the IPA, and I mean, it took, I think, about around the sixth time I sipped on the blanket. I thought this has got to be cat piss. It smells like cat piss. It tastes nothing like my beer. So I sipped it again. I said, yeah, that's absolutely cat piss. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't really the highlight of my week. I think my wife thinks a little less of me now, but whatever.
People always saying you to try new things. I mean, that's a new thing.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to know what it was. I didn't want it to be cat piss. All right, that is the that's pretty much the signal that I should change gears here. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Night of Champions real quick. Um,
Oh
so
wow, we're doing a wrestling podcast. Wow, fuck.
I know, right? Who would knew? I thought we were talking about cat piss. So the Miz retained his IC title in a fatal four-way match against Sin Cara, Rey Mysterio, and Cody Rhodes. Um, on last week's episode, Sam, you and I, we actually were kind of not really betting, but guessing on who would win. I think we both said Cody Rhodes, but we were wrong. Daniel Bryan and Kane faced off against Kofi Kingston and R-Truth to become the new WWE Tag Team Champions. Antonio Cesaro retained his U.S. title against Zack Ryder. I don't ever see Zack Ryder holding a title.
Okay, I saw that match.
Okay. In one of
It's
many,
pretty, you know, I think he's getting better every time I see him. Antonio Cesaro, aka Claudio Castagnoli.
he is. I think it's his suit I don't like. I don't think I like his suit.
I don't like how they call him an ex-rugby player one minute, and then the next minute they talk about his, you know, background as a wrestling all over the world. You know, which is it? Is he a rugby player or is he, pro wrestler? Come on, get your fake backstory right.
You know they can't say pro wrestler.
Right. Well, he was wrestling underground superstar circuits all over the way. He is fighting in underground superstar circuits
There you
all over
go.
all over the world.
Let's see.
I,
Okay. So in one
I
of
go
many,
to some of those superstar circuits.
do what?
I sometimes go to those superstar
I've
circuits.
never known you to go to anything like that before.
I go to the superstar and stripes circuit. Thank you. All right.
All right. Can I go on now?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. In one of many throwaway matches that night, Randy Orton went on to defeat Dolph Ziggler.
Okay, yeah, I fell asleep, and that's where I fell asleep.
Well, of course, because it was nothing. The first three matches, first three or four matches were nothing but throwaway matches. Here's another throwaway match for you. Eve Torres defeated Layla for the WWE Divas title. Sheamus defeated Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight title.
Wait, we're talking about Night of Champions, not the last 8 pay-per-views, right?
Um, yeah,
Because every
it could
single
go either
pay-per-view,
way.
it seems it's been Sheamus beating Alberto Del Rio.
It could be whichever, because it is. Um, I think you and I both firmly believe that Del Rio should hold that belt over Sheamus. Um, some people think Sheamus is a great champ. I think otherwise. I think he's boring. He's too soft for a guy who goes around kicking people. I don't believe him one bit. Let's see here. Cena thought he had. Let me say it again. Cena thought he had CM Punk beat for the WWE title when actually the match turned out to be a draw. When Cena pinned Punk, they both had their shoulders on the mat, and since the title holder entering the match goes on to retain the title in the way of a draw, CM Punk is still the WWE champion. And you know what? The next pay per view coming up is Hell in the Cell. And who's he facing again? John Cena. I'm tired of seeing these two fight. I don't care anymore.
Ditto.
Yeah. What do you think of John Cena there, Mike?
Yeah, I think I stopped watching wrestling before he ever really came about where he was wrestling. So I don't know. I mean, I can only really base it off of a handful of things I've seen him do, and one of them was some like kid show where he played the dad.
Oh yeah, I'm. You know
The only, thing, the only thing I can really think about when I see him, the only thing that really comes to mind is that the day of like the sloppy Because
Yeah.
I mean, if he's the it guy now, we're I couldn't imagine like a Mick Foley being a champion now.
No,
I
not at
mean,
all.
unless you played him off as like a monster heel, um, like they did with like an Abdul the Butcher kind of thing. Although Abdul the Butcher is a monster heel, all the allegations against him are true.
The thing is for me, um, I don't want to see my top guy, the same guy I like to watch throw other guys off a bridge. I don't like to see him go on like Kids' Choice Awards that Saturday afternoon. It's it doesn't do it for me. It actually it totally kills it for me. I guess in some ways I could almost see myself kind of liking the Cena character if he would have stuck with his thug gimmick from back in the day. I that part I didn't mind. I thought it worked great for him. But
Yeah, to play devil's advocate, though, I mean, back in the day, I mean, when it was still WWF, I mean, they had a Saturday morning cartoon, and I mean, you had Hulk Hogan and was this big boot band, and Macho Man had a rap album. I mean, it seems like they've always kind of they had one foot in the world of like entertaining your 12 and up, and the other foot entertaining 20 something.
true, but I mean I guess for me is the thing is some guys like okay I'll always say Austin. He was smart about it. He never did anything like that. He knew it wasn't good for his character, and he knew that. He knew his character well enough to say, my guy would never do that. And that's the thing is, for me personally, that's what I want to see. I want to see a roster full of guys that don't have kids, don't want to deal with kids or have anything to do with it. They don't give a shit about cartoons. Um, the kind of guys who are maybe smoking heroin in the back between matches. Those are the guys I love. Like well, of course,
Well,
Jake the Snake.
don't talk
Fuck.
about Lex.
What?
Don't
What's
talk
your?
about don't talk about Lex Luger that way.
Hey, well, let's be proactive about it, because week in and week out, I hear you bitch and moan about how you wish it would be, like R-rated again or whatever. And we know we've established it won't be
Yeah.
as long as Linda McMahon is campaigning to be a senator. She's under attack. Every single one of her opponents criticize, WWE's unsafe work policies, their, history of like, their trash TV background, the dead wrestlers, the steroids, the fact that the wrestlers aren't unionized, none of them have health insurance. I mean, like, they're doing whatever they can right now to, you know,
So one guy falls on a turnbuckle and nobody wants to let it go.
I'm just saying, let's be proactive. Let's think of a way we can turn WWE R-rated again instead of bitching and moaning.
How can we turn R-rated?
Yeah,
Well, here's the
all
thing.
the other podcasts, well, they just bitch and moan, but here at Heel Turn, we have solutions.
Well, that's what that's a good way, an awesome way for me to sort of get into TNA or say a little something about TNA real quick. I wish you would have been able to watch TNA tonight because tonight, it was open fight night.
Nice.
James Storm called out Bobby Roode.
Whoa, they
Yeah,
had a match?
they had a match.
What the fuck?
I know, and at first,
Nice.
Bobby said, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." And so he went into the back, and there's Hogan. He says, "You can either go back out there, or I'm gonna get rid of your ass." He's like, "You got 3 minutes." So of course Bobby decides to go out there. But so they're having their match. They're out by the railing, and I hear it. I hear it the first. I hear it once, and I think, no, that couldn't be been right. And then I hear it again, and then I see it. I see this kid, and I see him leaning over the railing, and I hear it. He's yelling, "Fuck you, Bobby!" He's this little blonde-haired kid, just flipping Bobby Roode the finger.
That's great.
It was beautiful, man. It took me back.
Damn it! I knew it. Fuck, I missed a good. The one time I miss Impact.
Yeah. Plus, Shaq was on the show for a hot
What?
second. Yeah. Shaquille O'Neal was on the show for a second.
See, Mike, I've been saying if there's one celebrity that should transition into pro wrestling, it's Shaquille O'Neal. I've been saying that for weeks. I said it last week.
He says it all the time. I agree with him.
I'm still waiting for Freddie Prinze Jr. to have another go at it.
Well, okay, so here's what happened. Before the show began, Shaquille O'Neal is seen backstage with Hogan. He tells Hogan to give him a call if he needs any help dealing with aces and eights.
Nice.
I know. So the first match is Kurt Angle and AJ Styles versus Chavo and Hernandez.
Well, who won the Bobby Roode James Storm match?
That's the thing. I don't know, man. I don't know who won that because it just seems like they wandered off.
Well,
Eh,
just go to a fucking website.
You go to a website. Um, the gut check match was pretty cool, I guess. It was Shane Douglas versus some 18-year-old kid.
What? Shane Douglas?
No, I could be wrong. The guy's name was Douglas. Douglas something.
Oh,
Not
Douglas Williams.
could.
British guy.
There you go. Yes, Shane Douglas looks like John C. Riley. Totally thinking the wrong guy.
Like,
But yeah, I was surprised they actually gave this 18-year-old kid a go. So man, I hope he gets it. There was a weird scene. I didn't like it. Hogan needs to brush up on his acting skills. Because after like this short commercial break, Hogan is backstage on the phone with Joseph Park, and Joseph Park is telling him he's got all this evidence, and Hogan's in this really goofy voice. Hogan says, "Oh my God, you've got the evidence in your hand."
that's. I love it. I love it.
It's so stupid. And
But
so,
Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain was 1998. I mean, it's been a while since he's really been serious acting.
It's true. He could be rusty in that department.
it could
But
be
it's
right.
not about. See, he's consistently a bad actor, so it fits his character. He's
Yeah,
a great.
you're right.
Like if he
I,
suddenly started acting good
Yeah.
or well or whatever,
Hmm.
you know, you wouldn't like it because it'd be like, hey, this is why is it? Who is this guy? Give me back the old Hulk Hogan.
You're right. You're right. We find out that Joseph Park has nothing to do with aces and eights because they get a hold of him and all this evidence of his he's got on a laptop. And so they take the laptop and they smash it with a hammer. And Joseph Park says, "That's okay. That's okay. I got it all up here, man. I got it all up here." Pounding on his forehead. And so what do these guys do? One of the aces and eights just conks him on the forehead with a ball peen hammer, knocks him out cold. And so I'm guessing next week he won't remember one iota of any of it. So one last nice thing to mention: Austin Aries met with Jeff Hardy in the back. Uh, Aries told Hardy that he wanted the following that he has. Like the fans, everybody's behind Jeff Hardy, and that's what he wants. And he wanted to prove to him that he can do anything and everything that Jeff Hardy can do. Also, I was really glad to see or to hear this because I know I talk about this pretty often. Aries just pretty much told him, "Jeff, open your eyes." He said, "How about this? You open your eyes, I'll take off my sunglasses. You can look at me and I can look at you." And so,
If
and
you open your eyes, I won't railroad you.
Oh man, but he ended up having a Aries at the end of the show having a match with Bully Ray, and Bully Ray stomped the dog shit out of him.
What? So wait, Bully Ray won?
Yeah,
He beat Austin Aries.
yeah, not for a title, of course, but he beat him.
Man, this is like the best episode. I totally missed it.
You did, man. It was awesome. It was great.
Oh my god.
See, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually enjoy TNA now a lot more than I do Raw. It's um, I know you're probably sporting a quarter chub whenever I say that,
I'm
but
always supporting a quarter chub.
yeah, I know. I've hung out with you. Um, so yeah, pretty much that's it for wrestling at the moment. Um,
What about Raw?
Raw. Did you watch Raw?
I think I saw the last hour. That's and see, I saw a good Antonio Cesaro match. It was him against uh, Zack Ryder again,
Okay.
I think.
Well,
But no, that was good too. Zack Ryder versus Damian Sandow. That was a good match. No, it was Claudio versus fucking shit. I should look at this. It was a good match.
was okay. So we know it was a good match. Well,
He's
I'll say this.
and then what?
You win because um I have no idea what happened on Raw. I watched like the first 2 hours and I said I'm done with this.
I can't remember either. I know I
Exactly.
saw that last hour.
Because nothing memorable happened. I will even remember Hogan's
Okay,
awful
yeah,
acting.
they had Punk and Cena versus Alberto Del Rio. And wait, no, faces versus heels.
Yeah.
Sheamus and Cena versus, and then
Oh,
Punk got his Cena pinned Punk. Punk's foot was on the rope, and then they did a whole thing with his foot on the rope. But it was very forgettable,
okay. So,
and
yeah,
it was good. I mean, I remember thinking like everybody was doing well, but it just because there wasn't any build up to the match, you know, I mean, we see those guys against each other every
we,
other day,
yeah.
and there's no meaning to it when they get together. Plus, WWE style booking, they're not going to do anything cool until the pay per view,
And then they might do
and
something
then the
cool.
week after,
Yeah.
since the next month. That's it. If you only watch WWE for the twice a month, once for the pay per view and once for the Monday after, that's all you need to know.
Yeah. I agree.
Setting up every single angle thing, like clockwork. Face comes out, heel. Or I mean, it's like there's variations on why they don't like each other, but it's always the same formula. It's like revenge the second week after the first week, and then there's a counter revenge, and then there's some kind of thing where they got pictures of somebody's unborn baby, and then
Jesus.
it looks exactly like their dad, and then the dad gets inspired and names the kid after a hot dog.
Oh, I see. I see where you're going with this. Look, I like the name Oscar.
Oscar Mayer Wiener.
Look, I like the name Oscar. It's a good name.
Terrible name.
You have a terrible name.
Yeah, well, at least, at
At
least,
least
uh,
what? What's your smart ass remark?
at least you can't put my name in a hot dog jingle.
I'll think about that. So, all right. So enough of just you and I back and talk, back and forth talking. Let's talk to Mike a little bit here. Mike, which wrestling company is or was your favorite?
Mike, you've been very patient, and I appreciate the fact that we finally have our first guest. But I wanna cover something. Was there anything in the news this week?
Um, no. Well, other than WWE is not going to hire anybody from TNA right now, since they're in, in court with TNA right now.
Because Ric Flair's a mole.
Yeah. So that means we won't be seeing Flair anytime soon, which is fine.
No, it's very sad actually. He's the funniest wrestler of all time. That should be our top five. Top five funniest wrestlers.
Top five funniest wrestlers?
Yeah.
Done.
Okay. Ric
Done.
Flair, number one.
Number
But
one.
let's talk to Mike.
Yeah, okay, Mike. Okay, so Mike, which wrestling company was your favorite company or still is?
Because wait, sorry, let me interject. We're doing something new. We're gonna start asking former wrestling fans the point in which this is gonna be a regular segment, I think. But go on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny because like I grew up with wrestling as I like changed what company I liked changed when I was like right on like the precipice of puberty. I loved WCW, and then like as hair started to pop up on my balls, I wanted a wrestling company with balls, and that's right when Attitude started with Terry Funk and Mick Foley were having their Falls Count Anywhere matches with Steve Austin saying shit and ass every 5 seconds. And then, I got even older and I wanted something more violent. So I got real into SNW and all the Japanese leagues. And then I think I got real into XPW for a while, even though it was a shit product. It was horrible. I remember Supreme no selling an exploding ring. And I think that was the point where I was just done. When a ring explodes and you no sell it, you have failed. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world to sell. I mean, yeah, I understand it's just pyrotechnics. I mean, it's a little dangerous, but I mean, it looked like four giant sparklers. But he didn't sell it at all. He dropped to a knee, he covered his eyes, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, that's worse than when Al Snow no sold in chair shot."
Yeah.
So
Right around that point, when like XPW died, ECW died, and WWF bought WCW, they put lots of very talented wrestlers on the shelf to have edgier wrestlers, and then they got a bunch of flack because they took the edge away from the wrestlers. And then I think the last time I watched Raw, I saw Kane give a half-hour monologue about the master plan, and I was like, this is unwatchable for me anymore. I mean, that's pretty much it. Now I watch like the old DVD stuff. I watched the Rise and Fall of WCW the other day, which was narrated by Diamond Dallas Page. That was awesome.
so you still watch the old stuff.
Oh man, yeah, I can sit around and watch like Ultimate Warrior promos for hours and be content, or watch any of the old WrestleManias. Probably up into 25, 26 would be pretty good.
You know what I always hated? I always hated how Austin no sold that power driver that Owen Hart gave him.
No, when they crippled him,
He just lay there like nothing happened.
did that to like a broken neck or something.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam says that was the small package from hell.
I mean, I totally understand why these companies are saying no more pile drivers, no more power bombs. I mean, I know it's probably really nice for these wrestlers who can't get insurance and aren't unionized to not, be injured 24/7, to not have broken bones. I mean, it's not the badge of pride that it once was anymore. I mean, it's 2012 now. But, man, it makes for a real shitty product sometimes.
Well, yeah, because it's don't don't ban the pile driver. Start hiring people who know what they're doing. Yeah, sure. Okay, Owen Hart mucked up a pile driver. That shit happens. Okay, but if you've got guys on your roster who just don't know how to do these things correctly, you need to get guys on your roster that do.
No, dude, no. They
No?
pulled an audible. They were like, "What should we do? We should finish the match. Go with the plan finish." It wasn't a matter of like the wrestlers having any control in that situation. The referees got a wire. They all saw it happen. someone gave him the orders to say, "All right, let's go for the finish," and can you do it? And Austin's like, "Ugh," and then he rolls him up, and I mean, it was a bad decision, but it wasn't like Austin had, I mean, he might have had a choice. He could have said, "No, my neck's broke, can't move, gonna die," or something. But I mean, he obviously felt like he could do it. So they went with it, and it looked terrible, but I mean,
Okay, with the broken neck, do you think Owen should have went for the pin, or do you think Austin still should have done it?
it's Austin's call probably. I mean, I'm not sure what the seniority decision and that if that would play into. I mean, like Owen might have thought it was a bad idea, but if the order was go with the finish and Austin said he can do it, Owen has to go with the finish.
Yeah.
You know,
All right.
if the company says, Owen, we're gonna string you up here in the very highest tip top of the arena, and then we're gonna drop you down, and you're gonna hit your head on the turnbuckle, fall into the ring, and die. He has to do that.
Talk about another bad no sell.
Yeah,
Well,
dude.
I was just thinking of I can't remember his name right now. It's the Sheik's uh, nephew. He in that barbed wire match with Terry Funk in ECW, the last one they did. What is that guy's name?
Sabu.
Taboo. That guy is the king of finishing matches that he should have just been taken out on. He broke his jaw, so he taped his jaw shut during the match. He filleted his bicep in that barbed wire match. And I mean, the series of moves after that were very poor, but he was taping his bicep back together while wrestling. I mean, I see people just continue under circumstances. Like you get $300 for this, go home.
Definitely. Yeah, I think Sabu might go down in history as one of those guys who deserves the credit, but probably won't. I think I think the WWE will probably try to brush him in under the rug.
I watched some documentary about oh god, what is that guy's name? The Danbury Fall guy, New Jack.
Yeah,
And in that documentary, they showed Dick Sabu, and I mean, he's in rough shape. I mean, he looks like hell,
yeah.
which I mean is to be expected. I mean, is he in a major company right now? I thought he was just doing the independent circuit.
Wait, who were you talking about?
Sabu, like because he's in the
Yeah, he's doing the Extreme Rising. The Shane Douglas started it up, and it's Sabu is on the roster on their homepage.
is it any good or is it all just garbage
I
wrestling?
haven't seen anything of it yet. I mean, there's a lot of Perry Saturn is there. Matt Hardy. Who else? Like maybe Jerry Lynn and Just Incredible and Rhino, perhaps. Um, but I want to watch it. I want to see what Uncle Sam wants to watch it.
All right, Mike. So, who would you say was your favorite wrestler of all time and why?
I mean, this is gonna be cliche as hell, and I apologize for the eye rolling that's going through it too. But it has to be Mick Foley, Mankind, Cactus Jack, Dude Love. When his book came out, I was there the day it came out. I bought the hardcover, ran home and read it, like cover to cover in like a day. I mean, just loved it. I could quote passages out of it, and I mean, and I was guilty of the backyard wrestling fan. I spent a year of my junior high, falling off roofs through tables that were just made of two buckets and a sheet of drywall. I mean, that guy. I mean, and to this day, like I follow him on Twitter and stuff. He does a lot of charity work. He's a great guy, and in his prime, I mean, he was a great wrestler. He brought a lot of high risk stuff, to the WWF and pulled it off well without it looking like, without looking like shit. Frankly, I don't think that any other garbage wrestler could have pulled it off the way he did.
Do you agree with Flair when he says that Foley's just a glorified stunt man?
No, I think a guy like New Jack is a glorified stuntman. New Jack has no personality outside of like his gangster persona, and most people don't relate to that. But Mick Foley was funny. His rock and sock connection was hilarious to watch. So when he wasn't doing high risk stuff, he was still being an entertainer.
Yeah, dude, I totally agree with that. Yeah. Um, what do you say there, Sam?
About what?
All right, Mike. What would you say for? Okay, I think we might have covered this already, but what would you say first attracted you to wrestling? You said you were growing hair on your balls, and
Well, I never watched it, and anytime I brought it up, of course, everybody was like, "Well, it's fake," and they said that as if to discourage me from enjoying the product. And the first time I sat down to watch it was a WCW match, and Jake the Snake uh, sitting on the second rope. His body was outside the ring, and he was holding on to the top rope. And he was holding on, and he was waiting. You could tell he was waiting. And he was waiting for a guy to run by the ring so that he could fall off and hit that guy. It was all part of like an angle, I'm sure. And I
yeah.
was like, this is the most ridiculous crap I've ever seen. And I turned into the next week to watch this ridiculous crap. And the next week, and the next week. And after about 2 months, I was like, I love this. I love every bit of it. I love when you can see them stomping on the mat. I love the fact that they're acrobats that are landing on their back. They just don't get the credit that's due to them. I mean, it never bothered me that wrestling was fake, and it was the fact that it was fake is what attracted me to it. And this is why I have so much respect for wrestlers. When I meet guys who do the little independent league stuff like that, they get nothing but respect, from me for being performance artists and one of the most physical performing arts there is.
Okay, and if you could be a wrestler, uh, what would your gimmick be, and what would be your theme song?
You know why he's asking you this?
No,
Why?
it's a loaded
He,
question.
no, he sits around in his boxer shorts playing WWE 13, creating guys. And he likes to create all of his friends, and he gives them powers that aren't accurate. For example, uh, he's always like a 99.
That's not true at all.
It
He,
doesn't matter if he's going up against Triple H or somebody.
Uncle Sam here is just upset because he once was looking through the stats of the characters I had made, and another buddy of mine who is just as skinny and frail as he is was about a
That's
point or
not
two.
even true.
That is so
I
true.
weigh at least 20 pounds more than that punk.
Well, maybe so, but you smoke,
Now, but
and you're
I'm
older.
quite the smoker.
You smoke, and you're older.
Are you serious? I love Luke. I would, I have
Ka-ching
no problems with him. He's a good friend when he's not, in parts unknown.
in dire straits.
Uh, but no offense to him, I'm 2 inches taller. I've been in lots of fights, and I weigh probably 20 pounds more than he does.
Well, I think here's the thing. I think his points actually were probably coming from his charisma, because I will say I think Luke's got more.
Okay, I'll give you that. I am a charismatic black hole.
You really are.
All right.
But
Well,
let's.
anyway, Mike, what was your gimmick, and how many points would you give yourself
And
in
what would be
the
what would be your
Pete's
theme
month?
song?
But I mean, the question is because it's like you weren't sitting on your ass all day in front of a computer. How good of a wrestler would you be? I wrestled in high school for 4 years, and I never won a match. I mean, I don't have a simple full of athletic talent. I mean, I've tried. I can even play frisbee golf. I've
What's
never
that
won
game?
anything that involves athleticism. But I mean, if we're talking about like the best of all possible
But
worlds
you don't
here,
have to be an athlete. You can be cunning. Like it doesn't mean. I mean, you could use weapons and whatever skullduggery.
well, I mean, if I had to pick what kind of wrestler I want to be, not the kind of wrestler I could be. Because I mean, I could be like an Abdullah the Butcher, just poke people with a variety of objects, and probably, you know, get along pretty well. But I would want to be
Nice.
a guy like Hayabusa when he was in FMW. I mean, he did it all. I mean, he did the high flying, and he did the extreme gimmick matches, the barbed wire cages and exploding rings and stuff. I mean, there was just it seemed like there was nothing that guy couldn't do. wouldn't mind being under a hood either. I mean, I don't think that's
Well, you want to know? This is what he does for you. He dresses you up like in some kind of. It looks like 18th century like metal headgear. Kind of. You kind of look like Danzig the way he.
That is not true at all. Mike has seen it. I've shown
yeah.
Mike before. He's seen it.
He's made me before, but what's funny is the way he made me is pretty much how I look in real life, walking around with spiked bracers, makeup, and my Iron Maiden shirt and leather pants.
I
I mean,
think it's good. I like it. I think it's a good wrestling gimmick. I approve. I don't know what it gives you rating wise though.
Mike was at least a 93.
Yeah, yeah, he's like, I mean, okay, you're a 93, and I'm like, what, a 77 or something?
No, but I can tell you right now, Mike was rated higher than I was. Blake was a 92. I was a 90.
Okay, did we lose our subscriber yet?
No, but if you keep talking, we will.
Okay.
Well, here, real quick, we're gonna take a little moment. I'm gonna play a tiny bit of a song. Really, what's happening is I gotta take a quick piss. I drank a bunch of water during the show, and now my bladder hurts. So, we're gonna listen to a little bit of this song, and when we get back, we're gonna get into the heel
Top
turn top
five?
five of the week.
Nice.
All right. Okay, I am back, and I am feeling so much better. Oh. Oh, man.
Hey man, what's that boy? I want to tell you about your girlfriend. What about my girl? You were strong underneath your bed. I'm strong. I might hurt your feelings. My feelings already hurt by being here with you.
All right, I'm back. I'm back again.
Hey, no disrespect, but I don't respect you.
That's okay. You know what? I'm a Paul Heyman guy. So,
All
no
right.
problem. Okay, so
Top five funniest wrestlers.
top five funniest wrestlers. You in on this, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. You
Next.
want to go first?
So does it have to be intentionally funny or
No,
No,
okay?
doesn't have to be.
no rules. This is heel turn.
Yeah, there are no rules.
Well, if I have to pick one, Ultimate Warrior. I mean, he was no joke in the ring, but anytime they gave the guy a microphone, every time I think of him, all I can think of is load the spaceship with the rocket fuel. And the best thing is, he's from around where I'm living right now. I'm getting ready to split to Indy, but I live in a town called Crawfordsville, and he went to high school around here, and everybody I know's parents have a I went to school with Ultimate Warrior story.
Oh, tell one, please.
There's no good ones. Like he was a nobody apparently in high school and got out and got huge. So like there's no good stories. He dated like my friend's mom's friend or something. I don't know.
Well, it's glad to see. I'm glad to see he came back around full circle.
Right. But man, just I mean, you can't watch one of his promos without face palming.
Oh, definitely
Okay.
not.
And when he whispers, Hulk, Hulk, like it's like Slender Man or something out in the woods would whisper that to your ear.
Yeah, man. If you ever want a good idea of what Uncle Sam looks like, just it's Slender Man. That,
Wait, who's that?
huh?
Who's Slender Man?
Don't worry about it. All right, Sam. What's your number five?
You look like Bill Billsby.
Bill Billsby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right then.
Who's that? Never mind. You don't need to know.
You see, I'm not even gonna give it to you. Um, who's your number five?
I'm gonna go with the cat, Ernest Miller.
Yes. All right. Why?
He cracks me up. Okay, yeah, I should be. Look, come on. Let's. I can't. I mean, just watch the guy.
Yeah.
The dancing, he's super entertaining. Makes me laugh.
I'm gonna say my number five is Jeff Hardy. I think it's completely unintentional. He's just a redneck through and through. I think Jeff Hardy is everything that I loved about being a jaded teenager. Uh, the whole face paint. Because when I think back to when I was a kid, and I'd put white out on my fingernails, and then color them black with permanent marker. Because I knew that my dad would kick the dog shit out of me if he ever caught me with nail polish. I think that's something Jeff Hardy would do.
So
So
wait, what is this list? I thought it was the top five funniest wrestlers.
hey, I think he's hilarious and ridiculous.
Okay,
All right,
you're
so
okay.
we're on to number four. Mike, who's your number four?
Mike, you should host this. We can be your guest.
Well, I planned for this, so I didn't like with the other list. I'm just gonna name guys that made me laugh. You guys can rank them all you want. Uh, this guy makes me laugh because he is god awful. He's a bad wrestler, but every time he's in the ring, I end up laughing. And it's Supreme, who I know through XPW. And the number one thing that makes me laugh about him is I remember this match where he grabs a pizza cutter, and they had this one announcer who had a very, very thick Hispanic accent, and the guy says, "Every time I see the pizza cooler, I can't eat pepperoni for a week." And to this day, I can't use a pizza cutter to cut my pizza because I just look at it and start laughing. I just use a sword instead or something.
Didn't you and I sit down and watch some XPW once? Sam.
I think we watched a couple matches. I don't think we ever watched like a show.
Yeah. Wasn't that the one that was on MTV?
No, that
No,
was
what was that?
Wrestling Society X.
Oh, that's yeah. That was a pretty awful show too.
The idea was good though. The execution was just more.
Okay, let's see. My number four. Oh, do I want to waste it already? Maybe I will. I'll go ahead and say Kurt Angle.
Nice. Good choice.
That man knows how to be hilarious.
I'm gonna go with his whole angle about Charmel,
Charmel.
where he has forbidden lust for Charmel. That was very, very funny to me.
Forbidden lust. Did he use those words?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, he was just, he was ashamed. He did this whole promo in like a confessional uh, way about how he can't help himself. She's he always wanted to be with a black woman, and it's good.
Oh, it's so perfect, man.
I got what I just thought of. And, and this, once again, this might not be the funniest wrestler, but it's a storyline I think back to, and just, I just don't know. You guys remember when Mark Henry impregnated Mae Young?
Yes. Oh, that was genius.
What, I mean, and this is why Linda McMahon is like no more powerful.
I was when she gave birth to that hand, I thought I'll never see anything that has to do with that hand ever again. But I was surprised that they actually had enough balls to bring that back for the 1000th episode. And it was all grown up and it was just this huge human hand. That's why I guess like for me the wrestling universe, it's just so fucking bizarre because you can have a man like The Rock, but on the like 2 blocks
This
down, you
number
can just have a
four, man.
giant
I'm
human
gonna.
hand. Your number four is The Rock.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love the rock concerts. It's always the same song.
It is.
It's great. It's always Heartbreak Hotel.
um. All right. So number three, Mike. Who's your number three?
Oh man, that's hard. Man. I don't know, man. I think Val Venus definitely always made me laugh when he did his whole, porn gag
Yeah.
and the whole castration angle. I just remember like you guys said before, with WWE really only need to watch pay per view the night after. I didn't see the pay per view because I was too young to just go to a bar and watch it or whatever. But my parents would order it for me because they're like, no, that's you're too obsessed with this. But I remember he supposedly got castrated, and the next night he showed up on Raw with like an ice pack on his junk, and he was like, thanks to the cold of the steel, I shrunk up, and he missed.
Is it just me, or does Val Venus come off as a guy who never gets laid?
I bet he does, but I bet it's like the 40-year-old bar skank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's my opinion exactly. And even then, he strikes out.
Which is real funny is in Mick Foley's book, one of his books, he comments that Val Venus is like one of the most politically conservative wrestlers he's ever met, or something like that.
He's a libertarian.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Uh,
he's hardcore. Him and Kane are hardcore libertarians.
Yeah.
last week, Gary Johnson, 2012.
Hey, I'm all about social services.
Mm.
Until there's a cure for schizophrenia, I'm all about social services.
Yeah, I
uh,
would.
I'm not getting into this with you right now. Next wrestler.
Okay, wait. So did we all do a four? You did. Let's see. I think it's your turn, Jeremy.
I'm gonna go with Kevin Nash. Just I mean, in his shoot interviews alone, yeah, he's just a totally hilarious guy. Um, at first when I started listening to him, I hated him because I mean, he is a bit of a prick, but at the same time, it's hard to go into it without coming out of it in the end saying this guy is right. He makes absolute sense, but at the same time, he's cracking plenty of jokes, and so yeah, Kevin Nash is my number three. All right, let's hop into number two.
What?
Mike.
What? Oh wait, I don't get
What?
it. I get skipped.
No, you didn't. What's your number three?
Okay. I'm gonna go with Stone Cold.
Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think funniest thing. So, I love that that one thing he did for that comedy roast that he sent me.
Oh, for Zach Wild?
Yeah, that was good. I like that. I mean, there's so many funny Austin moments.
I agree.
Okay, but I guess there's no need to dwell on that.
Are
We
you
can
sure?
moving right along. Is this tedious yet, Mike? Are you
I'm thinking too
antsy
ahead.
at all?
No, I'm just thinking too ahead at this point.
Okay, I think it's on you. Tag.
It's on me?
No, it's on Mike. I
Alright,
think.
fine. It's on Mike.
Okay, for number two, yeah, I'm going to pick Diamond Dallas Page because his gimmick was larger than life, but he always has been. I mean, self high five was the most ridiculous thing I've ever fucking heard in my life. And I always think about that whole story where him and Mick split a room and Mick put cookies in his bed. And yeah, he got completely, he slept completely naked with nothing but saran wrap wrapped around his knees. And Mick put cookies in his bed to try to see if they could break him, make him freak out. And he's like, "What's my bed? There's fucking cookies in my bed." So he grabbed him and threw him on top of Mick and started jumping on his bed, like cranking the cookies into him. And Mick's like, "It's not the cookies that bother me. It's that you're rubbing your naked ass all over me." And he just looks at them and goes, "I think I'm gonna get my own room tomorrow night." Like, just imagining the self high five guy jumping on a bed naked, rubbing his ass on Mick Foley, grinding cookies into his body. Just, you know what? Shit. I mean, and the fact he was like what in his late 30s during this. I mean, he started wrestling way past what anybody ever should consider doing that stuff. I mean, I don't know. He's a hero and he's hilarious.
What's great about that is I know Jeremy, for one, likes to imagine Diamond Dallas Page naked, rubbing his ass on Mick Foley's face or whatever with the cookies. That's a common Jeremy fantasy.
Preach it. You know it. Alright, so, let's see. My number two. Hmm. I guess I'm gonna have to go with, The Undertaker. Yeah, when I think of The Undertaker, everybody loves him. I don't think anyone ever has a bad thing to say about him, except when he opens his mouth. I think when it comes to The Undertaker, he is just synonymous with fucking up his lines and making everything hilarious. Um, let's see, what was it? What was it? Just leading up to the WrestleMania where he was gonna face Shawn Michaels for the second time. Didn't he say that WrestleMania, didn't he say like the date of WrestleMania was gonna be like 2 weeks after what
Yeah.
WrestleMania actually was gonna be? Yeah, he's just really good at flubbing up his lines, and so he's always when he does it, it cracks me up. And what else can I say about it? Just the things he's done over the past, it gets so goofy. The transition between the serious Undertaker and then the goofy, like when he was on Regis and Kathy Lee and he put Regis in the coffin. I mean, you've got that, which is just it's so stupid but it's so funny. And then a few years later, he's trying to crucify Linda McMahon or whatever. Or no, didn't he crucify Stone Cold?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not he doesn't give like a huge laugh, but just his consistent um, fuck ups over the years. They always get me, and if I think about them long enough, I start cracking up. All right, what's your number two, Sam?
Uncle Sam's number two. I'm gonna go with Mr. Perfect.
Oh yeah,
Uh, Kurt Hennig. He's I don't know. He was always doing a little something extra in his matches, like an extra spin on his bumps and just physical comedy, he was great. Like facial expressions, you know. Uh, it's just he had a good presence.
All right.
Rest in peace. Greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
Kurt Hennig's Kurt Hennig never forget. All right, Mike, what's your number one?
But I mean, it'd be too easy just to say Mick Foley. It's always been funny, but I'm gonna name it the tag team, the Rock and Sock Connection, because you had the straight man to your funny man, and I mean just everything they did with their interactions were hilarious. I mean, and I've read about in the ring where they'd all break character because they were laughing so hard. Kane's mask would be jumping up and down because he was laughing, and Stone Cold would come out and crack a joke. I mean, it never happens with these guys. Especially The Rock, great character. And I always think of this was your life segment or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just ridiculous stuff. They let that guy get away with murder just to make a joke. I mean, he was funny long after he was any good for wrestling.
Yeah, I've heard some of his stand up too. I enjoy it.
Stand up is weird because it's not really stand up. He just kind of tells stories,
Yeah,
which is good. Like I think that if you're a wrestling fan, like because some people criticize it, they're like, well, it wasn't really funny. Well, he wasn't like a joke guy. It was more just like these are crazy things I've done, and blah blah blah.
he's got good timing and he's compelling.
Definitely.
Okay, what's your number one, Jeremy?
Um, Ric Flair.
Okay, well, just take mine.
Will do. I mean, it is what it is, man. Ric Flair, he's a genius. Whether it's real or it's not, the man's hilarious. I love if it's not an act, that's great. But if it is, this whole senile act he's been playing with for a while now, it's spot on, and I hope he keeps it. That's I think that's a gimmick I've never seen before. Just a senile old man. He knows he knows what he's doing in the ring. He knows his moves and everything, but outside he doesn't remember anybody's name. He doesn't remember his wife or his kids. I think that's just the perfect. And so yeah, whenever he opens his mouth now, it's just hilarity.
Stand and Woo! Stand and profile.
So, all right, so that was your number one too.
No, I got a new number one.
Who's your number one?
The Sandman.
Fuck yes, man. Good call.
I got some honorable mentions too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, ready for it?
yeah.
Owen Hart.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with Shockmaster.
Okay.
Whenever
Gilbert,
Gilbert, it's a good one.
Gold Dust.
Gold Dust, yes.
I'm gonna go with Colt Cabana and Playboy Buddy Rose, the blowaway diet.
All right.
And Damien Sandow.
Yes. Oh, yes. Mike, do you know about Damien Sandow?
I know.
All right. If there is any reason to follow Raw, it's Damien Sandow. He's just perfect. His gimmick is so great. He does the intellectual guy, the real smarmy intellectual guy.
He's a cross between Bob Backlund's 90s character and Genius, Lanny Poffo. And little Nick Bockwinkel. A sprinkle of Nick Bockwinkel. I'm like,
Well, that there was the top five of the week. So
Now it's time for our religious debate.
I guess so.
Oh fuck!
Just why
You're
not
gonna,
attack that?
you're
I'm
gonna
gonna be
crucify me, Mike.
nah. I'm gonna be nice.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm a simpleton. I like the simple life, and therefore I I liked. Okay, well, let me begin like this. I was looking at the Hill Turn podcast YouTube likes. This is all Jeremy's stuff here. He does everything. I just out of curiosity, he liked some random Paul Heyman promos, and then all of a sudden he liked this one. Let's see. Hold on. Let me find it. Uh, Shit. Okay, dead air.
Come
All right.
on, but you're busting my balls with something. What was it?
Okay, alright, here. You like this video, it's called Betty Bowers Explains Traditional Marriage to Everyone Else. Okay, and like this is frightening. It's a frightening like atheist propaganda. Now, okay, nothing against atheism, but it's propaganda. And like I say that because they're not look it's not a balanced viewpoint. I mean, sure, it's under the guise of comedy, but they're throwing out a lot of accusations and a lot of like uh what's the word, misquoted scripture,
Coal mining.
and then to top it off, it's delivered at such a rapid fire speed, like you don't know what's going on before it's like sinking into your system. And I'm thinking if I was going to develop propaganda, that's how I would show people. It would be faster than they can digest. I mean, sure, there's probably a few Einsteins who get it, but I mean, in general, I just think it was.
I mean,
Uh,
I haven't seen the video, so I can't comment on it. But I mean, can you give me like a basic idea of what his argument was or what he was claiming?
well, as far as what I mean, it was just satire. I mean, she's talking about you know the Bible's what is it called here?
Let me make a guess here. This is one of those things where they go through all the verses where it's like if you rape a man's daughter, you have to pay him so much money and all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff. He just went through
yeah,
all the
right.
stuff of
But
Leviticus and
I guess linearly, beginning with Adam and Eve, and there has to be incest, and you have to rape your miss or your maid or whatever, and then it, you know, just speeds up from there.
Well, yeah. Well, if they're the only two people at the time,
Yeah, but that's not what the Bible claims. I mean, like, it's.
but what's interesting is although the Bible doesn't like explicitly claim it, there was enough of an interest in that a lot of extra biblical books were written about that, like the Book of Jubilees, the Testament of Adam and Eve, and a lot of like the commentaries by different rabbis, the Midrash, the Talmud, stuff like that. They do spell that stuff out because I mean it was kind of like the filthy rag of the day. It was like the Jerry Springer of the time to read the Book of Jubilees and be like, that's where that kid came from, brother and sister. No, I mean that's extra biblical. So you take it for what that's worth. But I
Well,
mean,
I think people are hung up on, like, the semantics of stuff, and they miss like the expression, don't throw the Oscar out with the bathwater.
okay,
Um, Okay, there it was. All right. I mean, there's, obviously this is your division right here with Orthodox and Catholics and Protestants, and the way one can basically interpret whatever message how they, to their liking more or less. And I mean, I think to shit on religion, like, and miss out like all the decent things that religions have had an effect on, um, in a positive way. I just think it's closed-minded, and it's just as bad as your what's the guys who come to the Jehovah Witnesses, or anybody who forces you to, I mean, be you know saved or what have you. I don't agree with that either, but I think uh, you know it's harsh, to be so black and white on either side. And
What's going to be, what's going to be bad for this discussion is that I actually wholeheartedly agree with you. I think even if most of the claims in the Bible are false, it doesn't mean theism isn't true. I try to be very fair atheist about a lot of these things, and it's like, to go through and quote the Bible. I think this is the point of the Bible. I like the Bible. I read it all the time. I go to a Bible study. I'm an atheist. They all know I'm an atheist. And I go anyway because I think it's fun to talk about, fun to read. So I dislike the Richard Dawkins just as much as many Christians do, just because they miss the point. So, I mean, yeah, I agree.
I guess, one of the debates that Jeremy and I have is the fact that why choose such a extreme way to identify yourself? I mean, it seems like agnostic seems to be the most balanced, uh, I guess, perspective.
Well, here you get into the philosophy of belief, or into theories of knowledge called epistemology in philosophy. Technically, both atheists are what are called weak atheists. There's weak atheism and there's strong atheism. There's weak theism and strong theism. Strong theism or strong atheism is
Is that being like, okay?
it's categorically affirmative. So it's like it's saying, I know for a fact that there is or isn't a God. Then, if the proposition is there is God, I know one way or another that that's true or that's false. Whereas a weak atheist, like me, would say that there's no positive evidence to make me believe that there is a God, so I'm not going to move from the null hypothesis. There's no reason to believe, but I have, made up my mind. I've looked at the evidence, so I can't say I don't know because I've, looked at a lot of evidence.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, Mike. Well, and actually, I want to ask Jeremy real quick. Just short answer, Jeremy. Do you consider yourself a hard atheist or a soft atheist?
Yes.
Okay, Mike. Let me ask you. Okay. All right. Well, I lost. Okay. What? Can you repeat the last thing you just said? The last two lines.
Uh, but basically, I would say I'm a weak atheist. So, like the example that a lot of people give, it's kind of a textbook example. Is there's something
Oh,
called
okay. I'm sorry, not to interrupt again, but I remember my question. Okay, so you said you didn't have evidence, enough evidence that disproved your arrived upon theory. Sorry if I'm
well, no,
paraphrasing
okay. So
correctly.
let's take God out of the equation altogether. Let's use something fantastic. So if I told you my car is parked outside right now, you guys would be like, okay, you wouldn't care. If I said my interstellar spaceship is parked outside, you guys would say, well, I want to fucking see it. And cause that's an extraordinary claim. You need to see it. You need extraordinary proof. To quote Carl Sagan. So we go outside. You're like, well, where is it? Well, it's invisible. You can only see it, you know, after you die. And then you're like, well, that's insane. Now that could be true. I might be telling you it's 100% true, but you have no way to validate that. And because of that, you would be, in your right mind to be like, well, I don't believe that Michael has an invisible interstellar spaceship. You wouldn't say that you're an interstellar spaceship agnostic, because that would just be silly.
So, do you believe you have a soul?
No.
See, I believe I have a soul, and I don't know if anyone
Why?
can prove me otherwise. I don't have to prove it. I mean,
Well,
like, I'm not trying to convince you I have a soul. I'm just saying I personally believe I have a soul.
now you get into my bread and butter. That's philosophy of mind and neuroscience. Those are what I study. The belief in a soul is something called substance dualism. It's a belief that, like
do they believe from within mentally we can change our own thoughts, or does it have to be affected by something external?
Well, that gets into, I mean, that's a black hole of philosophy of mind and neuroscience that I could probably talk about for hours and hours. Um, if the mind is epiphenomenal, which is like epiphenomenalism is kind of like the belief that the mind is like the whistle on a train, that the whistle doesn't really do anything to the train, doesn't cause it to move faster or slower, it's just kind of like there. If the mind is epiphenomenal, then no, then free will doesn't exist, the world's deterministic, and then the consciousness is just kind of along for the ride, it's kind of a bonus. I'm not sure if I buy that. Uh, I do think that our thoughts are like a recursive system, and that any disruption in that system causes a new token state, a new token brain state, and that state has an aboutness to it. We call it intentionality, and that is your thoughts and your direction and your pointing, the spotlight of, intention and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very convoluted way of saying that I think probably that we can change our own thoughts, and that, obviously we're constantly receiving sensory information at a conscious and unconscious level. So it's just one big system feeding back into itself. I know that's not very clear, and I'm sorry.
Oh no, no. I mean, it's fascinating. I guess. What do you believe as far as awareness, self-awareness? Like, why can I mean it's easy for someone to say this is a delusional thought, but I can't be convinced that I'm not imagining you and I'm not imagining Jeremy. I'm not imagining this conversation. I'm not controlling it in some way. The perception, and so I mean that could be from everyone else's percept per other outside. That could be your perception that, oh, that's, obviously delusional, can't be measured, and but like I'm not sure, I'm not creating the measurements myself. It's I guess the point I'm getting at is that as a controller of my own, as the potentiality of me being the controller of my own reality, the chooser, or just being aware of. Because I mean, the only thing I can know for sure about myself is my self-identification, that I am sort of.
That's a Cartesian idea of cogito ergo sum.
I don't know what that
I, I,
is.
I, I think, therefore I am. I mean, what you're saying
Actually,
is,
I am, therefore I think.
what,
The other
what,
way around.
what you're saying is exactly what Rene Descartes did in his through the discourse on method. He was like, "What's the one thing I can be sure of?" And he stripped everything away and said, "What if it's this evil demon is planting these thoughts in my mind, and nothing is real?" Well, the one thing you can be sure of is that I think, therefore I am, or I am, therefore I think. However you want to look at it, and he
Well,
built his
well, he
entire
said I
philosophy
think,
on that.
therefore I am, but like I'm thinking like I am, therefore I think, because I can't even know what the concept of thought is.
Well, it's funny because Nietzsche took Descartes to task for that. He said, really, it'd be better to say something more like, it is doing something called thinking. But even that gives it too much, because what is it? And what is it
Right,
doing?
exactly. So I guess when you strip that all away, since we can't really explain it, if I want to believe in a God, it's just as real as if I don't want to believe in a God, because I'm not able to measure any of these thoughts, or prove them at a certain point.
Well, I mean, you bring up a lot of points here, so I'm going to try to kind of sift through them. I think that for your inner mental states to accurately represent the outside world, it has to be the fact that they match up. So, like Wittgenstein in his Tractatus said, the world is all the things that are the case. So, if I have a belief about something in the world, they need to match up. If I believe Mount Kilimanjaro is the tallest mountain in the world, that's an incorrect belief. It's not. You know what I mean? So that's a false belief. So yeah, I think
That's
metaphysical
based
claims.
on agreed upon. I mean, you have to agree upon a lot of factors.
All right,
Um,
well, I mean, we can go beyond that. Let's just look at metaphysical claims. So, and I'm not an expert on William James, so I might be using this wrong, and I'm sure somebody will comment and be like, "You butchered William James," and that's the case. I'm sorry, but
but you presuppose we have listeners.
there you go. But like pragmatism is when it comes to metaphysical claims, how useful they are is important because there's a lot of metaphysical claims that don't matter. For example, the much easier to understand version of this one like thought experiment is last Thursday, and as it turns out, the world ended last Wednesday, but here we are and it's Friday. Therefore, all of our memories, everything is an illusion that was created 5 minutes ago on Thursday. Now, that could be true, but what would it change? It doesn't matter. It could be the case that you are the only mind in existence, that we have no minds, that we're just philosophical zombies. There's nothing going on beyond my skull. There's no inner state, there's no enjoyment. It just appears to be that way. That could be true, but what would it change? What would it really matter? And I'm going to throw this quick quote in. I'll let you go. Nietzsche said, the existence of a metaphysical world could be true, but the knowledge of such a world would be about as useful as the knowledge of the chemical composition of water is to a sailor in danger of drowning. Who cares?
Well, no, that's I disagree with that whole completely because I mean, like, now I'm gonna bring it back to like our agreed upon reality, whereas metaphysics can be appreciated by say the elderly and especially when they're coping with their own mortality and in that sense, I mean, like it's useful. I mean, maybe I'm misunderstanding Nietzsche, but I mean, he's throwing his. It sounds like he's throwing in his own glass is half empty commentary.
Well, I mean, he does that. I mean,
But
he, philosoph-
yeah,
he philosophizes with a hammer. You know what I mean?
he's a great gimmick. He's a great pro wrestler. I mean, think of all the philosophers like Nietzsche. Like he's ready made for the
The big
ring.
enough mustache. You need to have the guy from There Will Be Blood play him in a movie.
You
Daniel
know
Day
that, yeah, that's another great gimmick. What was his name? Bill the Butcher. That would have been a great wrestling gimmick.
Yeah, Gang of New York.
Yeah. Wait, now I lost the. Hey, shit. Where were we?
uh, you were saying that you think that a lot of metaphysical truths are useful. Okay, so like talking about like the elderly coping with death and things of that nature. I don't think that claims of like an
Because
afterlife.
they're actually physically changed. They're calming down. Their heart rate might stabilize. I mean, physical things are happening because of this fantasy that they're choosing to entertain.
Well, I think any claim has a range that I mean it gets to a point where it like transverses into that realm of it doesn't matter into that purely metaphysical world. So like you want to talk about like near death experiences and stuff like that, where people claim to float above their body and all that kind of thing. We have a pretty good idea of what happens in the brain that causes that. It's not as big of a mystery as a lot of people think. But you can push that. You can go, well, just because we know that this part of the temporal lobe is correlated with religious experiences, and with if you deactivate it using transcranial magnetic stimulation, you can get the feeling of floating above your body and stuff. That doesn't prove that there's no afterlife. Okay, that could be true, but now we went beyond science, beyond what we can know, prove, into a realm of wispy, imaginary kind of, I mean, just bullshit. In my opinion, saying something like that, like, okay, we have all this evidence for X, but that doesn't mean that it's not this other thing. It's not this, gypsy angel fairy sprinkling its dust on you. It's like saying, the world sits in the back of a turtle and it's turtled all the way down. That could be true. We have no reason to believe that. Now we've gotten into the realm of metaphysics.
Yeah, sure, I suppose. I think
It's worth thinking about.
it's
But
worth
let me ask
thinking
you this:
about.
so the child, starving in Africa, what good is the knowledge of, say, we could go over to Africa and we could feed these kids, or we could go over there and we could teach them photo logic. You know what I mean? Like it's that this level of metaphysics, it's kind of a
Mike, but it
hobby for
depends what kind of society you want. You go look at those indigenous, tribes, and so many of them live harmoniously, and so many of them have a religious system in place that they all happily, participate in. And I mean, sure, they may not have running water, but I mean, does that mean they're somehow less than those who do? Or that, I mean, to me, harmony would be like a human ideal.
well,
But it just depends what you want. Someone may not want that, and so like they're fair to it's that, and that they're free to feel that way. But I
you know, with different levels of religion. Then there's like the practical level of religion that brings a sense of community and belonging, and then there's the intellectual aspect of religion when you get into like these fringe ideas and stuff. And I think they're different, and I really don't have as much
It's
of a
worth
problem.
studying. I think it's you know yeah, it's metaphysical, but I mean, when we like, what's science if science isn't useful to uh, man in terms of what am I trying to say? I mean, we gotta. I think. I mean, we have to see like the balance. I mean, like it just depends what you want. I want to see like a happy, thriving world where there's no suffering, and so I look at, okay, well, where are those areas where there's no suffering, where there's like harmonious, uh, what's the word? Adaptability, but it's not the word I'm looking for. Where you're accountable for your environment, self-sustaining. Uh, like those. So I guess maybe the topic isn't so much science as much as it is maybe sociology. Well, that is a science, right?
Oh
Um,
no, I say
I
no,
don't
but
know anything about sociology, but when I hear ology, for some reason I think science. But like,
sociologists just want you to believe in what they see as science.
I guess meteorology isn't science either. But
Yeah, his predictions are a lot better than sociology.
what, what was the where was I getting at? I don't know. I just think that's worth studying, and as far as like the practical app or pragmatic applicability, if we were to measure something like that and we were able to put it into some kind of practice, it would probably make a lot of people lives improve. I don't
Well, see,
know.
and here's an area where, well, I mean, I do think we're talking about different levels of religious, applications, but this is another area where I agree with you. So, like in high school, somebody would die, which a lot of people died in high school that Jeremy and I went to, and they would send counselors and even pastors to our school. Now, as an atheist, I'm not going to go up to one of those pastors who's there to counsel people who are grieving and be like, "Did you know there's probably no God? You want to hear this awesome argument I had?" That's just dumb. And I have no problem with that level of
That's also how you
theism.
define God. I mean,
Well,
like,
I'm just talking like in a very general way. In this like, like when I meet a guy who's like, I used to be a junkie, then I became a Christian, and he's not bombing abortion clinics. You know what? I have no qualms with that guy. I'm not gonna sit there and argue with him about, like, hey, you want to hear the new formulation of the argument, for evil or whatever. It's just, that kind of that thing's fine. I'm more interested in arguing about this kind of stuff on a like academic level, and I think that's where the debate needs to happen. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a Richard Dawkins atheist where I want to go door to door and rob people of their religious beliefs, because I think that most religious people are decent people who just happen to be religious. I don't think they're dangerous. I don't think religion's the virus of the mind or any of that bullshit.
yeah.
Let me ask you something real quick, Sam. Um,
Yo,
Now, why is it that you're taking it so much easier on Mike here than you ever have on me? I know for a fact that when I first told you that I was an atheist, you lost your shit.
because I'm trying to control you, make you my puppet.
Oh, okay.
I want you to be just like me.
Well, that's not gonna happen. But because I remember when I told you, yeah, you lost your shit and you were legitimately mad.
Probably don't remember that.
Well, it was back when I lived with my mom and Tom, um, and
Because okay, this is why. This do you want to know why?
I do.
This is true confessions on heel turn.
Okay,
This is why.
why?
Because I feel you have a tendency to decide something for yourself before you've made you've really thought it through.
But here's the thing is how do you know? I mean,
Well, it's a hunch, and I shouldn't go by a hunch,
yeah.
but it's a hunch.
Well, I mean, I guess my question to that would be, I mean, do you believe or do you just have a hunch that there's a God?
I have a hunch,
So what's
but
it?
I also do pray on occasion. You know, like I saved Jerry Lawler's life, like we
That
discussed.
is complete nonsense.
And let's see,
You're talking shit now.
let's see. Well, and you know, I've met, you know, I spent a lot of time with, you know, Eastern philosophies and religions, and you know, some of their, you know, meditative practices that you know can be achieved. I mean, there's non-religious exercises that achieve the same thing. It's all how you want your. It's all how you like your eggs. You know, over easy or whatever. And you know, like you know, obviously I grew up Mennonite and you know very conservative in that regard. But I mean, I've what was the question? Fuck.
The question originally was, um, why why are you, did you blow up on me? Like, because whenever you and I talk about it, because for some reason it is something you like
Oh,
to bring
she
up.
asked if God was a hunch.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hunch, but I've also had weird, unexplained things happen that I don't want to talk about.
But okay, okay. So we'll just say you've had coincidence happen, but you know there's constantly things happening at all times. Right now, there's just numerous things happening as I'm saying this. So when there's so many things happening at all times, why wouldn't so many of these things just be considered a coincidence or maybe even a miracle or something of that, you know what I mean?
I'm not basing it on other people's experiences. I'm basing it on my own.
Well, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like you have your own experiences. Why does it suddenly have to be
Oh, yours? Or why should you?
why does it suddenly have to be ultimate?
Oh, well, it's not. I don't care if other people are not spiritual when it comes down to it. I really don't give a rat's ass.
You know,
It's
for
okay.
me, I just want to say, I mean, for me, when somebody thinks about somebody and then 5 minutes later they happen to die or something, and they associate the two things. I mean, statistically, that happens very often. It happens so often. I mean, statistically, it should happen so often that it should almost happen to
much are how they want to be, no
Well, I
matter
mean,
how
I
hard you.
changed. I read a book by Peter Singer called Practical Ethics that changed my views on a lot of things. I actually read the book because I thought he was a nut job.
But you're
Like,
open to
well,
change. I think that's
right,
different. I think
but
people are like, for the most part, they're gonna go with their gut 9 times out of 10. I think the gut instinct might be to be analytical, but like that's the gut instinct. I think. I mean, like it's you know it takes a lot. I think for people to like alter their uh, destiny. I know now that's a dirty word, but
I know what you're saying. I mean, the point I always try to give people is that my mind absolutely can be changed. I am completely open to the evidence. I'm going to see William Lane Craig debate at Purdue in January. He's probably one of the most leading Christian apologists, and in my opinion, he's never lost a debate to any atheist he's debated. I don't think his arguments are particularly good. I just think he's a much better speaker and always comes much more prepared than anybody else. But I mean, most people, most atheists I know, wouldn't be willing to even go to that. Their minds are made up, as made up as any other, fundamentalist. And I do think there are a lot of fundamentalist atheists out there who are like, my mind's made up and that's settled it. Well, no, because we keep accruing new information all the time about everything. The second you're caught up on one thing, you're behind on 10,000 others. So I mean, I think one way to be a good person is to constantly take in this flow of data as it relates to a lot of his beliefs.
yeah,
So, Uncle Sam, would you still go on to say that um, atheists are just these smarmy guys who live in their mom's basements and
no, I never said anything like that.
bull? I
Didn't.
Well, let
whatever.
me say something about that. Is I went to one atheist meetup ever, and it'd be the only one I'll ever go to. I hated it, and I met a lot of those guys while I was in line. I was a Richard Dawkins fanboy for a long time. I was a member of the Rational Response Squad who would have deconversion calls where they call people and try to talk them out of their faith and stuff. I mean, I was very militant for a while. And after going to one of those meetings, I was so sickened because I grew up Pentecostal, and it was the same exact mindset, just on the opposite end of the belief spectrum. And it was so unnerving to me that, I mean, it really just shook me up. Because I didn't, here's a bunch of people who are like, we're rational. We know what we're talking about. We have the answers. And it's like, well, how's that any different than the Assembly of God church I went to? So, I mean, if you think that there's a lot of atheists that are basement dwellers that just
I
fire
do.
off horrible comments, then you're absolutely right. I've met them, and I just like them as much as anybody else.
I don't feel that Jeremy's making stuff up right now.
That is not made up. But at the same time, I think I know where you're coming from on that, Mike. I joined a group out here not long after I moved to Kalamazoo. I joined an atheist group, and I only end up going to one meeting because I guess it was nice to be surrounded by like-minded people in a sense, but whenever we talk about something, all they would every sentence would begin with, well, Dawkins says, or well, Hitchens says, or Dennett, or Harrison, uh, or Harris, and it just drove me up the wall because it felt like none of them really thought for themselves. It seemed like these were people who were fighting for something, but at the same time they were victims of it.
It's probably a good place to go and try to get laid.
Yeah,
No,
there's
we met at a
not a lot of women,
Martin's.
not a lot of women there.
I mean, that's where I mean, I don't go to church, but that's why I would go to church.
Just to meet women.
Yeah.
What's funny, something I've suggested is, if you want a sense of community and you're a non-believer, volunteer. Because, I don't care what atheists say, believers donate so much more money to charity than non-believers do. They just do. water tanks. They do
Yeah.
other stuff. Why didn't you give that money to a charity?
Wait,
You know?
it was it performance art? I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Because I mean, obviously they didn't think they were debaptizing anything. They're just being dickholes. And like, you could have given that money to a soup kitchen or something.
Yeah.
That's what I would have said if I was thinking of that meeting with debaptize this road. No, go work at the homeless shelter. Go do some good in the community. You know, because guess what? Believers are. So we can sit here and be smarmy and be real happy about how good we can quote, dead philosophers. But guess what? They're getting shit done over there.
It, hey, Jeremy,
What?
why can't you be more like Mike?
What are you talking about? I
He's a
agree
good
with
guy.
everything Mike is saying.
That's what he says.
Huh?
He's a good guy. I like what he says.
I know. I have agreed with everything that he has said. What have I done wrong that Mike has said?
But I tell you what, though, guys, I'm having a great time. But I just glanced at the actual real life time.
Yeah, it is almost 3 o'clock in the morning. I need to
Yeah,
get to bed
this
too.
is way past.
What we'll go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and do a follow-up episode. Mike, if you ever want to come back, we can do that.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'd definitely be down for that.
All right, man. Well,
Thanks,
it was
thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
no problem, man. Anytime. You're great to have on.
All right, can we do a song of the day?
What is it?
Well, don't you? Should I just play it or?
Uh, look. All right. I'll tell you this. We just hit a minute and 44 minutes, or an hour and 44 minutes.
Okay.
I will let you do your song of the day.
All right, sign off. Do your sign off thingy.
All right. Well, this is Jeremy Scheidel, and you've been listening to Heel Turn, episode 7. I hope you guys have enjoyed what you've heard. Again, I want to thank Mike
I
for.
sure did.
Shut up. I want to thank Mike for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you,
Uh,
Mike.
Thank you, guys.
no problem. Um, yeah, love to have you back on. So, I guess this is me sounding off. I'll see you guys next week. Go to bed.
All right.
It doesn't end.